All right, this is the last recording for Buddhist scriptures, and in this one we again talk about personal identity, but this time connecting it to the notion of karma, which is, to put it very crudely, the idea that good deeds will result in good consequences and bad deeds will result in bad consequences. So in this section, it's sort of a continuation of what we had in the last one when we were talking about reincarnation, this idea of if there is no self, who is punished, or in the last section we talked about if there's no self, who is reincarnated. Well, reincarnation is, the time where the universe, the karmic energy of the universe, can deal out punishment or reward. So those who have led a good life will be rewarded. Their karma will be positive. Whereas those who have led a bad life, when they are reincarnated, their karma will essentially give a punishment through the form of a poor reincarnation. Now, what we're going to see is the king saying, well, if the self isn't reincarnated, if it is just this energy, then is the person ever really punished for what they've done? And so, King Melinda wants to know whether one is punished for their crimes in the next life. Nagasena responds that it's impossible to escape bad deeds. And so the criminal is punished. The self is not, because there is no self. In the same way that the self did not commit the crime, because there is no self, the self is not punished. But karma will get you. And so what we see is Nagasena use the example of a man stealing another man's mangoes. Now, just to be clear, this is stealing mangoes off a tree. So imagine I've planted a mango tree, if only, and someone steals mangoes from the tree that I planted. Now, this is a bit of a tricky question, because have they actually stolen from me? In terms of what my property was, well, my property was, say, the seed or the mango that I planted. The tree has grown from that, and it has now sprouted more mangoes. Do I own those mangoes, though? Well, the common idea of possession would say, yes, I planted the tree, so those are my mangoes. But the person who steals it, are they stealing my mangoes? Well, yes, I guess. Even though it's not the mango that I planted to make the tree, and the mangoes have grown on the tree. I didn't buy the mangoes. So this idea of possession is a strange thing. Now, King Melinda is going to say, well, yes, of course the person deserves to be punished because they've stolen the mangoes. And Nagasena is going to say, exactly. But the mango that they've stolen isn't the same as the one that was planted. However, the criminal is still going to be punished. So in this, if we imagine that the criminal who commits the crime, this is kind of like the seed that gets planted, the tree that grows from that is the reincarnation, and that reincarnation will be punished. So it's a bit of a tricky kind of metaphor or simile that they use. And so, we'll try and talk our way through it. But it is essentially this idea that you cannot escape your karma. If you've done terrible things, then you may not get punished in this life. And remember, there is no concept of self. So you, in terms of a self you, will die. Well, actually you won't, because you will have never existed. But your karma will sort of come back to bite you in the next life. When you are reincarnated, that dharma that we talked about in the last one, that unifying energy, that extinguished when you died and instantly ignited when you were reborn, that will be punished, because the two are intrinsically linked. Okay, so pens at the ready. Apologies for the big black line through this. I accidentally crossed this out thinking it wasn't part of our reading when it actually is. So personal identity and karma here. So the king asked, "Is there, Nagasena, any being which passes on from this body to another body?" "No, your majesty." So notice here, it's not another being. This is the wrong way to do it. It's not an entity in itself. If there were no passing on from this body to another, would not one then in one's next life be freed from the evil deeds committed in the past? Yes, that would be so if one were not linked once again with a new organism. But since, Your Majesty, one is linked once again with a new organism, therefore one is not freed from one's evil deeds. So this initially sounds like a bit of a contradiction. At one point, Nagasena is saying that one being doesn't pass from one body to another, and then in the next he's saying that that you are linked, or one is linked with the new organism that one is reincarnated into, and in this way one can't escape their criminal past. So the king is a bit confused here, so he asks for a simile, and this is where we get the mangoes. Give me a simile. If a man should steal another man's mangoes, would he deserve a thrashing for that? Yes, of course, the king says. But he would not have stolen the very same mangoes as the other one had planted. Why then should he deserve a thrashing? So this is that idea of, well, it's not like he stole the tree or even the seeds. He stole the mangoes that grew. Are they the person's possessions? So for the reason that the stolen mangoes had grown because of those that were planted. So without the planting taking place, the mangoes could not have happened. And just to pause for a second from the reading, this is an important sort of point. If you imagine your Dharma being reincarnated into something terrible, okay, a cockroach or something, okay, that could not have happened without the poor deeds that you had committed in the past life. Okay, and so with this idea of, well, this link, your Dharma has been reincarnated terribly. Why did that happen? Well, because you planted poor seeds in your previous life. Do you want a better reincarnation next time? Well then, you must plant better seeds. So there is a link, a definite link. Is a seed the same thing as a tree? No, it's not. But the two are intrinsically linked. Without the seed, you do not get the tree, even though they are two different things. What is it that links them? A Buddhist would say it is their Dharma. Why does a tree grow well or poorly? Well, that is their karma. Okay, so if the tree has done good deeds in a past life, it will grow well and produce lots of mangoes, hopefully. Okay, so I'll just repeat what the king says there. So, for the reasons that the stolen mangoes had grown because of those that were planted. Okay, they are linked. So, just so, Your Majesty, it is because of the deeds one does, whether pure or impure, by means of this psychophysical organism, that one is once again linked with another psychophysical organism, and is not freed from one's evil deeds. Very good, Nagasena. Okay, so I think this tree analogy is a good one. A tree is not the same as the seeds that were planted to grow it. It's not the same as the water that was poured over it so that it grew. It's not the same as the sunlight which fed it. And yet, all of these things are intrinsically linked. And what I mean by that is, it would be impossible to have the tree without these things. So even though they're not the same as these things, they are those things. This is kind of connecting back to the first idea of the chariot. They're not the same as the things combined, nor are they the things themselves, but they are linked to them. And so, what is it that draws all of these things together? It is Dharma. It is the karmic energy of the universe. Why, through reincarnation, some dharmas punished and others are rewarded? Well, this is karma. So if I do poorly in this life, I will die. But my dharma will be reincarnated poorly. And this is because the seeds that I planted in my life, which are poor deeds or immoral acts, have now led to a poor karma in my next life. So it's sort of a little bit Newtonian, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And so, yeah, hopefully that's clarified this idea of personal identity and karma. King Melinda certainly thought so. You know, for someone who at the start of the reading we heard was this great conversationalist and very hard to overcome in an argument, he rolls over pretty quickly, I've got to say. But anyway, I hope that's been cleared up a little bit. And do good deeds. Look after your karma so that your dharma doesn't get punished in the next life. And keep working on that teleportation. Next reading is a treatise of human understanding by the Scotsman David Hume. So if you haven't already, make sure that you start having a look at that, and recordings to come soon. Have a good day. I'm teleporting my way out of here. Bye.